She had her hand inside the purse and she stopped moving. I couldn't see what she was holding. I was 16 when I started working at the pizza place, young, broke, and happy to have a job. They started me in the kitchen, helping the chef, cleaning up, basic stuff. 2 months in, my boss told me that on the days the regular delivery driver had off, I would cover his routes. I said yes, without thinking twice. Then, one afternoon, the delivery driver came back from a run, and everything changed. He walked through the door looking like a different person. His face was wrong, his eyes were wrong. The kind of expression you see on someone who has just processed something their brain is still refusing to fully accept. He went straight into my boss's office and shut the door. I could hear them arguing through the wall for about 15 minutes. When he came out, he walked straight to me, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Good luck, kid." Then he told me he had quit. I asked him why. He said, "Just a shitty job, that's all." He patted me on the back and walked out the door. I knew it wasn't just a shitty job. I knew it the moment I saw his face. But I was 16 and I needed the money, so I told myself it was nothing and got on with it. That was the last time I ever saw him. 2 weeks into running deliveries solo, my boss handed me an address on the rural side of town. I put it in the GPS and drove out watching the sun go down, hoping it will be a quick stop so I could get home before dark. It wasn't quick, and I didn't get home before dark. The houses out there were spaced a quarter mile apart from each other, long stretches of nothing between each one. By the time the GPS told me I had arrived, the last of the light was gone. I sat in the car for a moment and looked at the house. 2 floors, lawn completely overgrown with weeds, dead trees on both sides, an old porch with nothing on it, no chairs, no plant pots, no lights, just bare rotting wood. It looked abandoned. It felt abandoned. I got out anyway, told myself maybe my boss had the wrong address, walked up to the front door and knocked. The door lock rattled, then the door opened. An old woman, 70 at least, white hair, several teeth missing, tiny and thin in a way that made her seem fragile, but her eyes were something else entirely. She fixed them on me the moment the door opened, and she didn't look away once. I kept my voice steady and friendly. "Pepperoni pizza, ma'am?" "Yes," she said. Her voice was hoarse and dry, like she hadn't used it in days. I held the box out toward her. She looked down at it but made no move to take it. Then she reached for her purse and said, "Did you come with someone else?" I froze. I looked up at her. She was still staring at me. Same expression, like the question was completely normal. "No," I said, "just me." "Where's the other one?" she said. "He ran off on me last time." "He quit a few weeks ago," I said. "I'm covering his routes now." She nodded slowly and started searching through her purse for the money. That should have taken 10 seconds. It took a full minute, the longest minute of my life. She had her hand inside the purse, and at some point she stopped moving, just stood there with her hand on something inside, staring at me. I couldn't see what she was holding. That was when I heard it. Footsteps on the left side of the porch, leaves crunching under boots, coming around the side of the house. Then a voice, low and flat, said, "Hey." I looked over. A man's head appeared above the edge of the porch, middle-aged, expression locked somewhere between blank and angry. He started climbing up onto the porch. I didn't wait to see what came next. I turned and walked fast to my car, then ran, threw the pizza onto the passenger seat, started the engine, and drove. I didn't look in the mirror once. I paid for that pizza out of my own pocket rather than explain what happened. When I eventually quit, I told my boss everything. He went pale. Said the previous driver had told him something similar, that he had just walked away from the delivery and driven off. My boss called the police. 2 days later, he called me back with the update. The house had been registered as foreclosed for over a year. No one was supposed to be living there. When the police broke in, they found 3 people inside, 2 men, and the old woman. All 3 were arrested. My boss didn't give me any more details than that. I've never stopped thinking about what was in her purse, and I've never stopped thinking about what would have happened if I had stood there 1 minute longer, waiting for her to find the money. The driver, who quit before me, got out in time. I got out in time. I don't know what the people who came before us found when they knocked on that door, and I don't want to. I was covering my friend's shift at the pizza place we both worked at. He was the usual delivery driver. I worked the register. That night he called in sick, and my manager asked me to cover the runs. The first 2 deliveries were completely normal. Normal houses, normal people, normal tips. Then my manager handed me the 3rd address and told me it was the last one of the night. It was 5 miles out, further than anything I had delivered before. The GPS took me off the highway and into a town I had never heard of, quiet in the way that felt less like peace and more like absence, like something had been drained out of it. The side streets were worse. Half the streetlights were off. The ones that are on barely made a dent in the dark. I pulled up to a single-story house and rang the bell. The door opened almost immediately. An older man, late 50s, thin, pale grey moustache, the kind of smile that sits on someone's face without reaching anything behind it. He said he'd be right back and disappeared into the house. I stood on the step and waited. I heard him moving around inside, footsteps on creaky floorboards, a door opening somewhere. Then he reappeared in the doorway and said I should come inside where it was warm. I said I was fine out here. He kept nudging, kept smiling, kept holding the door open. It was 5 degrees outside, and I made a decision I will regret for the rest of my life. I stepped inside. He shut the door behind me. The house was barely warmer than outside, no heating, just cold air and the smell of a place that hadn't had a window opened in months. I started moving closer to the door as he disappeared into another room. He came back a minute later, still smiling. Then he opened a door I hadn't noticed before. The basement. He looked down into it and said he kept his money down there, asked me to follow him. I looked into that doorway, lit pitch black. No light at all, just darkness and the faint smell of something I couldn't identify and didn't want to. I said no. He kept smiling, started moving toward me. And then I heard it. A creak. From the basement steps, slow and deliberate. Someone coming up. Someone had been down there the entire time. I turned for the front door. He was already right behind me, closer than he should have been. I felt his hand on my arm. I hit him. Hard enough to get free, hard enough to send him back. I heard the basement door bang open behind me as I got the front door open and ran, got in the car. Drove without stopping until I was back on the highway. I told my manager everything when I got back. He called the police that night. I never found out what happened after that. I was given a few days off. I came back to work, but I never did another delivery. Some things I think about still. Who was on those basement steps? How long they had been waiting down there? Whether they had done this before? And whether every person they had invited inside had made the same mistake I almost did. I'd been doing pizza deliveries long enough that the late night runs didn't bother me anymore. You develop a rhythm. You learn the roads. You stop noticing the dark. That night, I got an order for 4 large pies with an address that was a 20-minute drive from the store. I figured it was a party. 4 large pies usually means a group. A group usually means a decent tip. I loaded up the car and drove out. The roads got worse the further I went. Tarmac turning to gravel, gravel turning to dirt, trees pressing closer on both sides, no houses visible anywhere. The GPS told me I had arrived. I pulled up and looked through the windscreen. It wasn't a house. It was a building, old, low, unmarked, sitting in a clearing in the middle of the forest. No cars parked outside, no lights on anywhere. Nothing to suggest that anyone had been here recently or ever. I called my boss and had him read the address back to me 3 times. It matched. He told me to at least knock on the door before coming back. I got out of the car. I still don't fully understand why. Something about not wanting to go back empty-handed. Something about not wanting to explain 4 large pies to my boss at midnight. I walked up to the building and knocked, waited, knocked again, nothing. Then I heard rustling from inside. I knocked a 3rd time and announced myself. Silence. I was about to turn back when I saw it. A face at the window. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. The only thing clearly visible were the eyes, open wider than eyes should open, fixed on me completely, unblinking. I dropped the pizzas and ran. The car took 3 turns of the key to start. I reversed hard off the grass and onto the dirt road and accelerated into the dark. I heard it before I felt it, a low, scraping sound building under the car, then resistance, then the car pulling and slowing and finally stopping dead in the middle of the road. I got out and looked. All 4 tires were flat, not slowly deflating, completely shredded, already off the rims. Someone had done it while I was knocking on that door. Someone had come out of that building, worked their way around my car in complete silence, destroyed all 4 tires, and gone back inside. And I hadn't heard a thing. I got back in the car and locked the doors and called 911. The operator told me to stay in the vehicle, stay on the line, and stay hidden. I sat there in the dark with the phone pressed to my ear and watched every window and every mirror. The forest was completely still. Then I looked in the rearview mirror. She was in the back seat. The same face from the window, those same eyes, open wider than I had ever seen eyes open. And as I sat there, unable to breathe, unable to move, unable to make a single sound, I watched a smile begin to spread slowly across her face. I don't remember making the decision to run. I just remember the car door opening and my feet hitting the dirt and the trees closing around me in the dark. I ran until I couldn't breathe, and then I dropped behind a fallen log and pressed my hand over my mouth and waited. I heard sirens long before I saw the lights. I ran toward them until the red and blue cut through the trees, and I came out of the forest onto the road and collapsed in front of 2 police officers who had to pick me up off the ground. They searched the building. They came back with nothing, no people, no evidence of anyone having been inside, except for the objects they found near my car, small, sharpened, purpose-built. The things that had been used to destroy my tires while I stood 30 feet away, knocking on a door in the dark. The police told me it was likely a couple, a man outside with the tires while the woman watched from the window. They were never found. I quit the next day. I haven't driven anywhere alone at night since. And I think about her face in that mirror more than I would like to admit. The way she was already smiling, like she had done this before, like she knew exactly how it was going to end. 3 drivers, 3 deliveries, 3 addresses they wished they had never been given. Most of them quit. All of them got out. Not everyone does. If something happened to you on a delivery, something you've never told anyone, something that still keeps you up at night, send it to us. The email is in the description below. I'm Hollow Dark. Subscribe for more true horror stories. And the next time someone knocks on your door after midnight, take a moment before you open it.